So Paul wants to know, Professor Wolters, what's the most annoying thing about teaching? I'll be honest with you, it's at the end of the semester when I get really rude or mean emails from students who aren't happy with their grade. Because here's the thing is, you have to understand, when I teach my class, I teach everything I can for the exam so they can do well on that. I make sure if it's important enough to test on, it's important enough for me to teach on. So I do that, and I have slides for them to have. I have summary videos. I go over exam reviews beforehand. I talk about how I came up with the questions for the exam so they can understand my thinking process if I would make a question that was similar to the one that's already there. So I'm doing everything I can to help them out. I also give like 3% extra credit, so there's options to make even more points. And what they'll write and complain about are things that I actually discussed in class, like, hey, you need to make sure you do this, or on this day this is due, and it's obvious they were not in class that day. You know, and so then I see it, and most of the time the students, when they get really mad, they don't actually look at the announcements I sent out to them or the things we talked about in class because they weren't there, and I'll look, and it's almost a guarantee they've missed a bunch of classes, they did not pay attention, they didn't do the extra credit, and then they're just mad at me because they're like, well, I should have a better grade because I deserve a better grade. I think I did better than the grade shows. I'm like, well, your grades for your exams are this, and your grades for the quizzes are that, and you didn't come to class, so I don't know what I can do for you. And then they get really, really mean, like they threaten a boss, and they're like, oh, well, I'm gonna talk to someone else, I'm gonna bring this up, and I tell them, hey, that's fine, put in a complaint to the capricious grading committee, because sometimes I do mess up, right? So I'll go back and check, make sure there's no issue, but I was like, hey, make sure you go through and read the syllabus, how the grade was calculated. Because I know in some learning management systems, they just like collect all the points together and they show students, oh, you have 550 points out of 560. And they're like, oh, that's an A, yay. And I'm like, no, that only has your exams in there. It doesn't count in the syllabus quiz and the other quizzes and the attendance. That's just on the exam stuff. And students don't listen. And what's funny is when they complain, and I've actually made a specific video talking about how to calculate their grade, and they don't use it, and they use the other way, I just roll my eyes in the back of my head and I point it out to them, and 99 times out of 100, the student never writes me back. So yeah, that's the most annoying thing, was when students complain about their grades when they're the ones that did all the stuff wrong and don't actually calculate the grades the right way. So there's your answer, Paul.